All right, hello everybody. Thank you for joining. I am Riley with the T Storm Chasers, and we're going to take a look at your forecast. But before we do, here's a brief word from our sponsors at Cube Portable Storage.
What are you doing?
Decluttering?
Moving? Remodeling? In need of temporary storage, emergency cleanup, or just need to declutter? Cube Portable Storage has the perfect solution. Get your Cube Portable Storage container today.
And don't forget, they got roll-off dumpsters for the other stuff. Call Cube Storage for all your moving needs.
All right, guys, jumping into today's weather video. We got a lot to get to today. We're going to make it brief here. We need to go over a number of things in a short amount of time because we don't have much time left. But let's go over the video here, starting out with our temperature map here. We got low 70s already in Sioux Falls. Overnight lows were in the 60s. The temp was rising all night. We also had some storms overnight. I don't know if you've probably heard the thunder last night. And we did have some thunderstorms roll through the area last night. In the Sioux Falls area and surrounding areas, eastern South Dakota into Minnesota. Right now, 72 at the 10 o'clock hour in Sioux Falls. That is very warm. 73 in Yankton, 73 as well in Sioux City. Looking down in Nebraska as well, low to mid 70s. That is not a good sign. You have on the back side of the front, you got 55 in Rapid City. 45 in Custer, 48 in Buffalo, 54 in Mulbridge, 61 in Aberdeen, 63 in Pierre. And then into Minnesota, we got 50s and 60s. We got 63 right now in Marshall, 59 in the cities, we got 68 in Slayton. And then down into Iowa, we got 68 in Spencer, a couple 70s near Sioux Center. Des Moines is already at 70. So the warm air is already here. Now, take a look at the radar picture. We don't have much going on at this point now. We do have just some shower activity here from Freeman up to Salem, up to Arlington. Just some general showers, small line there, not really seeing anything there. So that's not the event. The event will be later on. Let me show you guys the fronts here. So here is your triple point right there in eastern South Dakota. You got the dry line, you got the warm front, kind of all sitting over eastern South Dakota right now. So that is, that's where that cold front is, and it's going to continue to move east towards the Sioux Falls area here over the next couple of hours. As it does, we expect thunderstorms to form over the next few hours, and it's going to erupt once they do get going. Let me go over a wind advisory real quick. Did want to mention that there is a wind advisory for northwestern and northeastern South Dakota here. Rapid City, Mulbridge, Aberdeen until 7 p.m. today for strong winds there. Let's see. It does say that strong winds in high-profile vehicles, strong winds can cause blowing dust, reduced visibility, flying debris. Wind gusts up to 50 miles per hour in these areas expected. And then also, in the Sioux Falls area too, it is very windy out there. This morning, the weather out there, I was out there this morning. Actually got to meet Reed Timmer this morning, who, by the way, is stayed in Sioux Falls last night. Probably not the best sign, if the number one storm chaser stays the night in Sioux Falls. Probably not a good look for the Sioux Falls area, but there could be some bad weather later on. It's not a for sure thing though. But again, just don't be scared, be prepared today. But in any event, we have that, it's very windy out there. Wind gusts are 45 miles an hour in the Sioux Falls area. It's very humid. You walk outside and you instantly feel that humidity. Dew points are in the mid 60s. I'll get to that graphic here in just a moment. But dew points are in the mid 60s, which is plenty enough for bad weather. And then it's also, you got those low clouds. It's kind of a some peaks of sunshine. It's kind of a mix of clouds and sun, which is also not a good sign for bad weather. Let's take a look at the dew point map here. And as you can see, dew points are in the 60s. We got 64 right now in Sioux Falls. We got 64 as well in Brookings, 64 in Slayton, 63 in Spencer, 66 down in Yankton and Sioux City. Higher dew points in Yankton than we do in Omaha. That's pretty incredible stuff. Also, dew points here down in southeastern Nebraska are in the upper 60s, 68 near Grand Island. That is some pretty intense dew point temps for this time of the year. And then you look behind the dry line, you have dew points in the 30s and 40s. So, yeah, anytime you get that kind of, you have one side of the state has dew points in the 30s and 40s, the other half has upper 60s for dew points. Yeah, that's probably not a good sign. So, let me show you guys now the latest on the day 1 severe weather risk. And sorry, the screen might be a little bit on the screen there. Okay, there we go. Took those dew points off. Now we take a look at the severe weather risk, level 1 out of 5, marginal risk, far to the west. Fargo, Aberdeen, Pierre, down into Nebraska there. Not really expecting a whole lot there, but it is possible there could be some storms around. Otherwise, the area shaded in yellow, Huron, Mitchell, Chamberlain, down to O'Neill, Sioux City, Lincoln, Nebraska, all in that slight risk there, level 2 out of 5. And then when you start getting into the orange and red, that is where you really got to start paying attention. Sioux Falls, I-29 corridor, Brookings, up into Minnesota, Morris, Brainerd, and then down into Iowa, Des Moines area. All under a enhanced risk. Also, Omaha is under that enhanced risk. So that is for a little bit more heightened risk of severe weather. And then the moderate risk here in red. That is your strongest risk here. Level 4 out of 5. The only one higher is a high risk, which is very rarely issued. But that moderate risk, as you can see there, for the cities, Mankato, Spencer, Mason City, Rochester, even into Wisconsin there. So that is your moderate risk. So I would say anybody in the slight risk or enhanced risk or moderate risk, anywhere in the yellow, orange, or red areas, you've got to be plugged in on the weather today. Could be a very dangerous weather day. So you have to be plugged in on the weather for updates, have a way to receive watches and warnings, have a safety plan in place. And, again, if you're under one of these warnings, seek shelter, lowest floor, away from windows, or interior room. Those kinds of things. Good stuff to think about for a day like this, as today, in a lot of ways, is the kickoff to severe weather season for our area, for the Sioux Falls area, for southern Minnesota. And so this is unfolding, unfortunately, to be a major weather day, unfortunately there. Now let's hear a brief word from our sponsors at CE Construction.
From roofing to siding, CE Construction is setting the standard across North and South Dakota. Our expert team delivers quality, durability, and trust on every project. CE Construction, Dakotans helping Dakotans with their roofing and siding needs. Call or visit us online.
And here is a look at our tornado risk for today. Again, that 2% there in eastern South Dakota into eastern Nebraska, up into Minnesota, 2% risk in green. That is your smallest tornado risk. Does include Sioux Falls, and then the 5% just east of Sioux Falls, actually Brandon is under the 5% tornado risk. And into Sioux City, Pipestones, Millbank, Brookings, Dawson, Alexandria, Brainerd, Duluth, all in that 5% risk. And then the 10% risk, which is also a hatched area, hatch zone. Anywhere in that hatch zone really needs to be paying attention here. The areas in yellow and red. So you got, Wilmer, St. Cloud, Minneapolis, Marshall, Tracy, Mankato, Fairmont, Rochester, Albert Lee, Spencer, Fort Dodge, Denison, Des Moines, Waterloo, Cedar Rapids, Mason City, to Wisconsin, all those areas there under that tornado risk. So that is, now let's take a look at the hail risk, and you got, again, that 5% for Aberdeen, Pierre. Then you got the yellow, and which is, Huron, Mitchell, Chamberlain, down into O'Neill, Nebraska, Norfolk, Sioux City, Lincoln, all there in that hail risk there in yellow. And then in red, Sioux Falls, Marshall, Minneapolis, basically, central southern Minnesota, and then all of Iowa impacted there by that hail risk. And then your wind risk for today, a little bit less. Again, there's still that risk of pretty bad winds. That's going to mainly be a Minnesota thing, looks like. Looks like the greatest risk there in Minnesota. But we could still get impacted by this. Sioux Falls area could still get in on this. Sioux Falls, Brookings, Watertown, into Minnesota, and then into Iowa there with that area shaded in yellow. That is also, take that very seriously. That's still a pretty high risk for this type of event. Again, that would be, I think it's 15%. So basically, the marginal risk, slight risk, and then, the moderate risk basically there for wind. And again, it is already very windy out. It is very humid, and it's very warm, and you got that mix of clouds and sun. Not a good combo when it comes to severe weather, unfortunately. So let's jump ahead now to the model runs here. Now, actually, real quick, I did want to show you guys this. This is the hatched area I was talking about. So anywhere in this hatched zone, you can expect tornadoes. We can still get tornadoes outside of that area, but the main area to watch is going to be Iowa and Minnesota and into Wisconsin. That is your zone there for tornadoes. Minneapolis and Des Moines in that. Mason City's kind of in the bullseye of this, same with Rochester. And then here's your hail risk. Significant hail. Sioux Falls is in this. Brookings, Sioux City. So really, the anticipation here is for these storms to fire up kind of near the James River Valley and move east-northeast. And, the march east, and, that all modes are on the table here. I mean, you can expect large hail, 2 inches in diameter or bigger. Strong damaging winds, more, 70 miles an hour or greater, and then tornadoes. There could even be some strong tornadoes, maybe even long track tornadoes. So it's on the table, certainly. Not saying it's going to happen for sure, but it's on the table. And so now let's jump ahead to your model runs. I want to look at the HRRR model. All right, so taking a look at the latest HRRR model. Let me show you guys this here. So as we run this out, the anticipation here is for storms to fire up here around the noon hour in the Sioux Falls area. As you can see, Sioux Falls I-29 corridor, again, around the noon hour. So we got about 2 hours here until we start to see thunderstorms developing. Now, any one of these could turn severe. I mean, it's one of those days where any storm that fires up has the potential to become severe. So that is what we're looking at there. Again, I-29 corridor from Watertown down to the Nebraska border, down to Yankton, through Sioux Falls. As you can see there, there's your initiation. And it's gonna slowly move east, as you can see there, over the neck, and then the next hour comes, and then, kind of hangs around the Sioux Falls area. Again, any one of these storms could become severe. And then they move east, into northwest Iowa, western Minnesota. Also, there could be some storms back near Pierre as well. So any one of these could become severe, and then kind of move east there into Minnesota. So that's the first round. But then more storms, as you can see, firing up here in northwest Iowa. So if that scenario plays out, looking at, tornadic, probably supercell there. And then Minnesota as well. You got that line there in Minnesota heading towards Minneapolis. And then it kind of congeals into a line there from northwest Iowa into southern Minnesota there, Minneapolis down to Mankato, down to about Spencer, Iowa. And then more thunderstorms developing back towards the west. And here's another round. As you can see there, you know, you got kind of 2 rounds here. You got one over southern Minnesota, north central Iowa. That's your main event. But then you got storms back here in southeastern South Dakota, northern Nebraska. Look at that. And then you also have storms forming here in southwest Iowa, into Kansas. And then you got another one here in central Iowa. That would probably be tornadic. That would be a supercell all by itself. And then also up here near the Sioux Falls area, this would also be tornadic. You know, if this actually does play out, you know, anything can happen. It's one of those days though where you just have to assume that any storm that fires up has the potential to be severe. And you know, on the back side of this, we'll have rain and, believe it or not, actually snow showers out in the Black Hills area. So that's another talking point. And then, you know, again, it's very interesting that we're starting to now see more activity back towards northeast Nebraska and southeast South Dakota, towards the Sioux Falls area. And you know, and then that rolls east, and then, you know, that's kind of it. You know, the storms will just move east, and so really this it's gonna be an all-day event. Really gonna start here in a couple hours, and then it's gonna last all day, really through the evening hours. So we're looking at a potential for a 9-10 hour event. So, you know, very unfortunately kind of what it's shaping up to be here. So that is the latest there on the HRRR model. And so with that being said, that is the latest here. We got to jump off here and get ready. But you know, we wanted to give you guys a morning update, morning briefing of today's major weather day. Could be historic, you know, we don't know, but unfortunately it's one of those days where you have to be plugged in on the weather. You have to have a way to receive watches and warnings, have to have a safety plan in place, you know, have a weather radio in case you're sleeping, have you know, just a way to receive weather updates, as could be a very dangerous day. It's really the only way you can protect yourself is by knowing what's going on and planning ahead and having a place of shelter. Because it could get pretty dicey, and I think some locations today are going to get hit way more than others. But again, that is the latest here from T-Storm Chasers. Again, we're going to be live here today. Later on, once these storms get going, we will be jumping on the air. And, you know, if we have to be on the air for 10 hours straight, so be it. We will have chasers out in the field as well today. So we're going to have AJ and his team, and then we're going to have Braden and his team out chasing today. Bring you guys a bird's eye view of these storms later today. So that's the latest. Stay safe out there, stay weather aware, and have a great day.